Dark Veil here. Time for another grim truth. I need you to do something before we start. Check your phone. I'm serious. Just make sure there isn't an app on there that you don't remember downloading. Because the people I'm about to tell you about ignored something like that, and now I can't find them. I almost did not make this video. Not because the story is difficult. I review difficult content for a living. I have watched things that would make most people close their laptops and go sit quietly in a garden for a while. You develop a kind of professional distance, a membrane between yourself and the material. This one got through the membrane. The channel was called Granta, not a person's name, not a brand, just a word. It had been active for 14 months before the platform flagged it for removal. In that time, it had accumulated just under 40,000 subscribers, which sounds modest until you look at the engagement data. Average view duration, 93%. Comment sentiment, overwhelmingly positive. Hundreds of users describing the channel as, and I'm quoting here, life-changing. The channel had uploaded exactly one video, 214 million views. Then it was gone. The account that owned the channel had been registered to a couple in Duluth, Minnesota, a man named Bodie Thrace and his wife, Ren. When investigators went to their address, the apartment was empty, clean, no furniture, no personal items. The lease had been paid through the end of the year in a lump sum from a financial account that no longer existed. But someone had left something behind. Taped to the inside of the kitchen cabinet, above the sink, was a single piece of paper. It was a terms of service agreement. 31 items had been checked off, in pencil, each one very carefully. This is the story of what happened to Bodie and Ren Thrace. And if you've ever wanted something so badly that you stopped asking whether you were allowed to have it, I want you to stay with me to the end, because the last thing on that list, the 31st item, it was checked off in a different hand. The Thrace apartment, Duluth, Minnesota, 8 months before deletion. Bodie Thrace was the kind of person who apologized to furniture when he bumped into it. His co-workers at the dialysis clinic described him as gentle, competent, and forgettable in the way that genuinely good people sometimes are. He made decent money. He drove a 10-year-old Subaru with a cracked back bumper that he kept meaning to fix. He was, by most available metrics, content. His wife, Ren, was not. That is not a criticism. Ren Thrace was brilliant, impatient, and constitutionally unable to accept that the ceiling above her was the actual ceiling. She had 2 graduate degrees and a job answering phones for a health insurance company, and the distance between those 2 facts lived in her chest like a stone. She had been applying for better positions for 3 years. She had been rejected, in her words, so many times that she had developed a reflex. She saw a job posting the way most people see a parking ticket, that specific, sinking inevitability. Bodie loved her completely and worried about her constantly, which is a very specific and exhausting combination. On a Tuesday in March, Ren's phone buzzed with a notification from an app she did not remember downloading. The notification said, You have one request available. What would you like? She showed it to Bodie. He suggested deleting it. She typed, pay off our credit cards. The screen went white. Then it returned to the notification, which now read, done, rate your experience. Bodie checked their bank account. $14,260 gone from the balance column. All of it. The transaction history did not show a payment. It showed a correction. He sat down on the kitchen floor, which is the kind of thing you do when the world has just reorganized itself without asking your permission. Ren stood at the counter and stared at her phone for a long time. Then she pressed 5 stars. Day 1 through 11. The app had no icon. It appeared on Ren's phone as a pale gray square, the kind of nothing image that app developers use as a placeholder before they get around to designing the real thing. Tapping it opened a white screen with a single text field and that same opening line, "What would you like?" They were careful at first, cautious in the way that lottery winners are cautious before they realize the check is cleared. Bodie suggested small things, practical things. The cracked bumper on the Subaru was repaired overnight. 3 outstanding medical bills were zeroed out. When Ren's sister in Portland needed a new transmission, Ren typed it in, and by morning the money had appeared in her sister's account without explanation. Her sister called, confused and grateful. Ren said she had come into some money, which was technically true in the way that leaving out that important part of a story is technically not lying. After each request, the app asked them to rate the experience. They always gave 5 stars. It seemed rude not to. Bodie noticed something he could not explain, though. The more the app gave them, the less he could remember what it had felt like to be afraid about money. Not relieved, just blank where the fear used to be. As if the app had not only paid off the debt, but had quietly filed away the memory of it ever having happened. He mentioned this to Ren. She said that sounded like healing. He did not think it felt like healing. By day 11, the requests had escalated, not dramatically and not all at once, more the way your standards for a hotel room change after you've stayed in a nice one. Expectations have a ratchet, and they only click in one direction. Ren typed, "We want a house." The app's response was different this time. Instead of the white screen going blank and returning with "done," a new message appeared. "This request requires expanded permissions. Please review the updated terms of service." A document appeared, long and dense, the kind of text that exists specifically to be agreed to without being read. Ren scrolled to the bottom. Bodie asked her to wait. She said it was probably just legalese. She pressed agree. 2 days later, their landlord called to inform them that the building had been purchased by a property management company and that their unit, specifically, had been transferred to them as sitting tenants. No mortgage, no rent, theirs. It was not the house Ren had imagined, but it was a start. She opened the app. What would you like? Day 12 through 31. Here is something I noticed when I reviewed the terms of service document that the app had generated. It was not static. Each time a new request was granted, a new clause had been added to the document, retroactively, as if it had always been there. The users, Bodie and Ren, would have to reread the entire agreement after every single grant. To catch this, nobody does that. Nobody rereads the terms of service the second time. That is possibly the most human thing about this entire story. The clauses were not alarming on their face. They used the kind of language that sounds procedural until you slow down and read it carefully. Words like engagement data, behavioral modeling, ambient preference harvesting. One clause, added after the 8th grant, included the phrase continuous attention licensing. If you are watching this video all the way through, I want you to understand something about that clause. It does not specify whose attention. What it meant, as best investigators could determine later, was this. The app was not granting wishes, it was purchasing them, and the currency was not money. By day 19, Ren had stopped sleeping for more than 4 hours a night. Not from anxiety, she said she simply did not feel tired. She described it in a text to her sister as feeling tuned, like a radio that's been receiving nothing but static for years and has finally locked onto a signal. Bodie noticed that she had stopped watching television, stopped reading, stopped doing most of the things she used to do in the evenings. She sat with her phone and the app open, and she thought. He would ask what she was thinking about, and she would say, "I'm working out what to ask for next." There was one thing he noticed. He wrote about it in the notes recovered from the apartment, and he struggled even there to find the right words. When Ren looked up from her phone, there was always a half-second delay, like her eyes had to remember where they were, as if some part of her attention had taken up permanent residence somewhere else and the rest of her was just recovering. The requests had become large. On day 21, Ren asked for her job to be eliminated and replaced with the senior director position at a healthcare technology firm in Minneapolis. The app granted it. She had the offer letter by morning, including a signing bonus, a relocation package, and a company vehicle. Her former employer appeared to have no memory that she had ever worked there. On day 25, she asked for the healthcare technology firm to be restructured so that her position was second only to the CEO. On day 28, she asked for the CEO to step down. Bodie did not find out about that one until later. Day 29. Bodie Thrace was not a confrontational person. We have established this. But on the morning of day 29, he sat down across from his wife at the kitchen table and he told her he wanted to stop. He had been rehearsing this conversation for a week. He had written notes. He had a list of specific concerns organized into categories, which is the kind of thing a gentle and thorough person does when they know they are walking into a fight that they're not built for. Ren listened. She was good at listening. She had always been good at listening. When he finished, she said, "I hear you, I really do." She reached across the table and put her hands over his. "But Bodie, look at what we have now. Look at what I can become. You're asking me to stop at the shore when there's an entire ocean." He said, "I think something is wrong with the app." She said something was wrong with our lives before the app. He did not have an answer for that. She wasn't wrong. Their lives before the app had been fine in the way that a waiting room is fine. Adequate, bearable, not the thing itself, though. He looked at her and she looked at him, and somewhere in the distance between those two looks was everything they had not said to each other in several years of being quietly, competently unhappy. She opened the app. The notification that appeared was different from any previous one. "You have reached the standard tier limit. To continue, please create a content account and begin sharing your experience." Ren stared at the screen for a moment. Then she picked up Bodie's phone, opened the camera, pointed it at herself, and began to record. The account that uploaded the video was registered in under a minute, tied to both their names, their addresses, a financial account neither of them recognized. The app handled the registration. Of course it did. That account is the one investigators later traced back to them, the Granta channel. The video was the single upload on the Granta channel. 214 million views. If you had seen the video without any context, you would not have thought it was dangerous. Ren Thrace, sitting at a kitchen table, looking directly into a phone camera, speaking quietly for 11 minutes about everything the app had given them. No production value, no editing, just a woman in a good blazer in a house she had wished into existence, explaining that she had found something that actually worked. You might have even believed her. Most people did. The comments were immediate. Hundreds of thousands of people asking where to find the app. The app apparently was already on their phones. Day 31. I have read the content moderation notes on the Granta channel, uploaded approximately 40 times. I keep hoping I missed something, some indication that the platform should have caught this earlier, some flag that was overlooked. The truth is, it did not look dangerous. It looked like a testimonial, the kind of earnest, slightly unpolished content that the algorithm rewards because it feels real in a media landscape that mostly does not. It was real. That was the problem. On the morning of day 31, Ren Thrace opened the app for the last time. We know this from the access logs recovered during the account investigation. She typed her 31st request at 6:47 in the morning. Bodie was still asleep. The request took investigators a long time to piece together because the text field had been cleared when the account was deleted. What they reconstructed from adjacent records suggests that she had asked for something related to the app itself, not for more wealth or a higher position or another restructured company, something more fundamental. Current theory is that she asked to own it. The app's response to the 31st request was logged at 6:48 a.m., 1 minute. The response was not done. The response was a single line which the account recovery team found cached in a server fragment in a data center outside Reykjavik, Iceland. That is not available in your tier. The channel was deleted at 6:49 a.m. The apartment was vacated by an unknown time the same day. The terms of service document was left taped inside the kitchen cabinet. 31 items checked off in pencil, the 31st in a different hand. That last checkmark was made in something that looked like pencil but tested differently. The forensics report describes it as an unknown marking compound, which is the kind of thing you write when you know what something is not and you have run out of categories for what it is. Bodie and Ren Thrace have not been located. The healthcare technology firm in Minneapolis reorganized twice in the 8 months after Ren's departure and no longer exists under that name. The current company at that address has no record of her employment. The Granta app has not been found on any device submitted for examination, but 40,000 subscribers got a push notification from the channel on the day it was deleted. The notification said only this: "Thank you for your engagement data. Your preferences have been archived." Here's the part I keep coming back to. Ren Thrace's first request, the one that started all of this, was not for a mansion or a title or a private jet. It was to pay off $14,000 in credit card debt. The amount that accumulated over 3 years of two people working hard jobs in a mid-sized city and still somehow falling behind. That was the number that the app found waiting for it. The distance between what they had and what had felt like enough. The app did not invent the wanting. It just showed up at the exact right moment with a text field and a question. What would you like? 214 million people watched a video about that question. The app is still out there. The platform confirmed to me that they have not identified its distribution mechanism. They do not know how it appears on devices. They don't know what it collects exactly or where that data goes. What they do know is this. In the month after the Granta channel was deleted, the platform received over 300 reports of an app appearing without explanation on users' devices. Pale gray icon, white screen, single text field. What would you like? Check your phone, not later, now. Because if it's already there, you don't get a notification the first time. Maybe Grimm was onto something with his fisherman and his wife story. Our couple here certainly had some lessons to learn. If you like this and want more, check out other stories with the links on screen. And until the next one, have a frightfully fun day.